All right, guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the Art of Networking. So if I could ask you just really quick logistical, because we're going to be doing some breakouts and some exercises. So if you could just make sure that you're sitting across the table from someone. This table looks a little bit more uneven than this table, so just make sure you have a partner across the table from you. You'll know why in a little bit. All right, well, so we're going to talk about the art of networking today. And as I was preparing for this, I was kind of reflecting back on my career, and just so that for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Cheryl Henry. I've been with Chet for 20 years. This is my second year at WISC. I'm honored to be here. Last year I sat on a panel and did an interview facilitated by Morgan Harper for those of you that were able to attend. I truly have a passion for mentoring and coaching people within our organization, but I have a special passion for women. And I am the one that wants to be the tailwind, that wants to be the one that lifts other women up, and I do everything that I can to make sure that I do that as much as possible. So when I was thinking about, when I've had conversations with people in the past about networking, it was always interesting to me, like, the reaction wasn't always positive. And I'm a natural extrovert, I would have to say, in most cases. I like to talk to people. I find it very challenging to kind of figure people out, understand, what do we have in common? Where can we relate? Where can we help each other? But for a lot of people, that's not natural, right? And so when I was thinking, and doing some research online, there was so much sentiment about, oh, I hate networking. Like it just feels bad. And so what networking is not brown nosing. It is absolutely not doing something just for your own benefit. And it's certainly not just for the extroverted people. And a lot of people sometimes feel kind of icky when they network because they don't feel that they're being authentic or that somebody is not seeing them in the light that they want to be seen, right? So I'm just interested for you guys, what are some of the reasons why you've been hesitant to network in the past? Go ahead.
I remember it was my first year at Chet, and it was coming PvP time, and my manager, had one of my goals was to start mingling and networking with people. And I was very surprised at that goal. And I said, why would you want me to spend time, really wasting time? Well, I'm here to give you 110%. I want to work hard. And that's how I feel like I'm going to be able to prove my worth and value. And he had explained to me that networking is a huge part of advancing. And he says, you're not doing it. So he says, I'm going to challenge you to really do that. And it really opened my eyes. And now I feel like I'm really good at networking and getting to know people.
That's great.
And taking those advantages and putting myself out there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
I was just going to say, being younger, getting into careers, I think it was kind of some internal pressure I put on myself, but I didn't really feel like I had achievements to talk about, and I was just really nervous about talking with people that have achieved so many different things, and what am I going to say? And so I think a lot of it was just getting more confidence in myself, just being able to reach out to people and have those conversations and ask questions too.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm not talking about myself, I want to hear more about you.
Yes.
Learning how to do that too.
Yeah. Anybody over here? Yeah.
For me, I would say it's mostly social anxiety. I think that in this day and age, it's become a lot easier with LinkedIn. I feel like I'm a little bit better at doing it online than I am in person. So it does give me some practice, but I definitely think the anxiety of being in social situations is kind of what has held me back a little.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else? Yes.
I think for me, it's the fear of being uninteresting to another person and presenting myself. times you can immediately tell that you're jiving with that person, that they're interested in what you're saying, and then other times you kind of get maybe that look, or it's very much your perception of how they're looking at you, that they may not be interested. I think that creates kind of that anxiety that what you're delivering and how you're networking is not working. So I tend to stay away from it at the moment because it does make me quite uncomfortable.
All of these comments are really, really common, and I've heard almost every single one of them in each of the breakout sessions that we've had. The only one I didn't hear in this breakout was some people feel self-conscious about the fact that English is not their first language. And they feel that kind of anxiety, like, am I not going to be able to find the right word? Is it not going to make sense? And we were just having this conversation in the car coming home from dinner on Monday night with Tyler. We were talking about all the different languages people speak and things like that. I only speak English. I don't speak any other language, even conversely. And I have a massive amount of respect for anyone that speaks multiple languages. So never use that as, kind of a fear, knowing that probably the person on the other side of the table is like, wow, you can speak more than just English. It's pretty cool, right? So I think we're going to cover off on quite a few areas that we've touched on. I think a lot of it is really seeing networking through a different lens, but then also helping you prepare for those conversations so that you're just not kind of standing there like, okay, am I really interesting, or am I connecting with this person? So it really starts with acknowledging that networking is just not reaching out to people. It is a very purposeful activity that advances you in either your goals or your career, or the ability to build up a skill set or a strength that you may be lacking in. So if you look at it in this way, it's really about, who do I need to reach out to? And then what is the goal that I have in reaching out to that person? And then what can I get from that person that maximizes the benefit of that interaction? And someone mentioned in the last breakout as well, is going into it with the attitude of, it's not about me, it's about how we can help each other. And so just to share a little bit about my personal approach with networking at CHEP. So for those of you who don't know my career history, I've had roles in about 6 different functions within the organization over my almost 20 years here. I started in supply chain finance. I've held roles in customer service, controllership, global procurement, as well as commercial. And every time I moved into a different function, most of the time, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't know about the specific tactical execution of the teams that I was a part of. But guess what? I used my team and the people that I was able to network with to accomplish and build that experience and knowledge base. And so when I go into a new role or a new function, I identify, okay, who are the teams or the functions that I need to align with? And then whom from those teams are influencers or people that I know have a deep knowledge or skill set of that function, and then I align with them. I start that networking approach, I build the relationship, and then all of a sudden, I have help when I need it, and then I can give, where they may be lacking in a certain knowledge or skill set. So that's kind of how I approach when I go into a new role, and I found that to be pretty successful so far. So why does it matter? Why does networking matter? It helps you build relationships with people who can help you with your career goals. So I think the speakers, I can't remember if it was Jill or whom the panelist was, but it's really about, how do we expand that network and really touch on the second one is expanding that professional visibility, the brand. So how do you get your name out there as someone, number one, who's willing to raise their hand to participate in a project, but also someone who participates and now is known for having a strength in a certain skill, or really is a great public speaker, or whatever the thing may be. when leaders in the organization look to recruit for their teams or say they're creating a new role, it helps us as leaders to know and have that visibility to people in the organization based on their brand, based on what they're known for or good at. Say, hey, I think this person would be good at this. And in my career at Chef, I have had leaders in the organization do just that. Say, I saw you when you participated on this particular project. It seems like you have a passion for this. Would you be interested in interviewing for this role? So, increasing that personal brand. And then lastly, it just helps you to be more informed and have more of an enterprise view. So having that perspective of what are some of the challenges in logistics, or what are some of the challenges that our plant employees, our operations folks deal with every single day, not knowing that, I think, hinders your ability to come up with better ideas. So having that network and really hearing their challenges and their perspective will help you be more strategic and help you come up with better ideas. So Harvard Business Review is my go-to when I'm seeking out research on certain topics, when I'm looking to build out a strategy. It's just, for me, it's a great resource base. And so when I was doing my research, this is an article that I found that was really, in my mind, summarizes what are the strategies that we need to adopt when looking at a successful networking engagement. Number one, approach this as a learning activity, right? So you're not going into it just to make new friends, but you're going into it to promote yourself and to build up your experience, right? Secondly, identify common interests. So that is, I think, the most successful starting block to a successful relationship. And it might be the simplest thing that you connect on. I use it in my role today as, on the commercial side of the business. Connecting with that customer sometimes is hard, especially if it's a procurement person. No offense to procurement people in the room, but they're typically very guarded, right? And so finding that little tiny opening where you can connect with somebody on the simplest, personal detail really tends to kind of bring down that guard and open up the opportunity to learn more and strengthen that bond. And then number 4 is find the higher purpose. So every one of us come to work every day, whether that be in an office, whether that be in a plant, whether it be on an airplane, in a customer office. It's why do we do what we do every day? It might be to support your family. It might be to feel more empowered as a woman or as just a general employee, but it also might be to advance the company goals, right? It could be all of those. But going into it with finding, what is that purpose and how can I use this interaction really, really helps to, be more authentic in that interaction. So we're going to get to practice one of these. Number 2, we're going to do just a short 90-second exercise. If you could just pair up with the person across from you at the table, take 90 seconds. Find how many things you have in common with that person. Go ahead. All right, 90 seconds is up. Just out of curiosity,
Yes.
about how many common things did you guys have together?
12.
Wow, 12. Not competitive at all. No, it's not really about the number. What I find fascinating, and this has happened in every single group, the body language is just fascinating to me. Like leaning in, like, oh my gosh, the facial expressions, like it's that human connection, and just finding the smallest thing that you can connect on with somebody just opens up the potential for how you can have better conversations, deeper conversations, and truly help each other, right? So we're gonna get a lot more time to practice, so don't worry about that. So one of the key things to ensure that you are making the most of a networking engagement is planning. And this can really apply to anything. The more you plan, the more prepared you're going to be. And for those individuals that may be more hesitant to engage in a networking interaction, the planning actually helps you to know, okay, so these are the things that I can talk about. Here's how I can highlight myself. Here's maybe the questions that I could ask that individual to get that conversation going from the beginning, right? And so we're going to do a little activity. If my volunteers could pass out the worksheets, please. So in researching really what were the most common areas or the most important things to consider when you're crafting your elevator speech at a trade show, or where you're, approaching a conversation with someone, really falls into 6 individual areas. So we're going to take some time, and you're going to get the opportunity to just kind of think about what are the key strengths or areas for each of these buckets that are unique about you. So first and foremost, education or area of expertise. So in some cases, this will lend credibility to yourself in entering that conversation, right? Maybe you'll connect on a certain background or a certain relatable experience that you have. Your story. So think about what's your career story? Or even if you're open and willing to share, what's your personal story? In many cases, that can be a relatable topic as well, in a way that you can connect with the person that you're speaking with. And then the third is, what are some interesting facts about you? Your personal brand. What are you known for? What are you good at? This could be an area where, that individual could be looking at you going, oh gosh, well, I could really use some help with that. I could use some advice, some coaching. This might be a good area where, I could use this relationship to my benefit. And then who or what inspires you? So who keeps you motivated? Why? That could be an area that you could connect on as well. And then what are you looking to gain from the conversation? So thinking through, again, what's the goal of this interaction? But then also, what can you give to the interaction? So what can you give that other individual? How can you help them? Okay? So we'll take about anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes. Some groups have, taken 7, some groups have taken 10, but really kind of think about, yourself and how you can start to plan your interaction. And then we're going to actually put it to work. So we're going to do pairs of 2 so that the room is set up pretty good for this. So we're going to start out. We're going to have 5 minutes. You get to network with the person across the table from you. You can use some of the topics that you just planned out in your planning sheet. You can try to connect on a common theme or a common area. Just, kind of have the conversation and see where it goes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do this a total of 3 times. So you get the opportunity to network with 3 different people in the room. So to make this logistically smooth, what we're going to do is this side of the table here. Okay, you're going to stay where you are for the first round. Then for the second round, everyone is going to shift 1 seat to your left. Okay? You at the end, you're going to come up and move straight across to this seat right over here. Okay? And then this side is going to just shift down to the right. You're going to move over here. Okay? All right? So if you have any questions when we shift, just let me know. And that should be a pretty easy transition. So go ahead and start on your first 5 minutes, and then I'll tell you when it's time to move. Okay? All right, so real quick, before I let you go, just wanted to know, especially from the people that maybe came into this room feeling very hesitant to, have that networking engagement, what are some things that, you kind of learned or, ahas for you through this exercise? Yeah.
It's actually more easier than I thought to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the big fear was like, I don't know you, I don't know we're gonna connect on, but one thing took us down a snowball of
Right?
just crazy
Yes.
things to connect about. And I'm like, oh, that was easy. Fun.
Yes.
So it's just the intimidation factor for me.
Yeah, and hopefully the planning helped as well, because it just kind of gets your head around, like, here are some things that I have in my toolbox that I can bring out and talk about. And look, the connecting isn't always going to be immediate. So don't get discouraged if you start talking to somebody and you don't immediately connect on something. But it's that, continuous engagement and conversation. Eventually you will find something that you have in common and that you can build on. So
One more point today. So after you do make a connection like this or at an event like this, what do you recommend for retaining it? Like for later when I'm like,
What's the
yeah,
follow-up from this, right?
when I'm thinking about later,
Mhm.
if I need help or I want to give help, I'm not going to be able to remember everybody I talked to here and what things we connected about. Is it like you take notes or?
that's what I do. Just being in the role that I'm in, you meet a lot of people at conferences or even at customer visits, right? So it's taking those notes, and what I try to do when I meet somebody is I try to write down one or two personal things about them that I might not necessarily connect with them on, but when I see them again, I can ask, oh, hey, I just remember when I was talking with one of the leaders at General Mills, he was saying how this summer he was planning a trip with his family to Paris, and he was joking about how him and his wife were flying first class, but the kids were back in economy. And we were just having kind of a laugh about that. And so I see him every year at the Consumer Brands Association conference. And so now I know when I see him this year in October, I'm going to ask him, how was the trip to Paris? Did the kids survive economy? It's just those little things that then, like, that other person is saying, wow, like, she really listened, like, she remembered that. So maybe it's as simple as that, but if there's somebody that you really connect with, that you think that you can help each other, set up time with them, set up a regular cadence, even if it's just once a quarter. Let's do a check-in. Let's see, what you're doing, I'll share what I'm doing, and let's see if, we can help each other. Yeah, anybody else?
I just have a general comment.
Yeah.
I came in here feeling really, really tired, and just being able to talk to people as they're so much
Good, because no one wants to hear me talk for an hour. So
fun.
good. Go ahead.
I really like the planning. I thought that it was so good because sometimes you get in your head and go, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about,
Exactly.
But if you
Yeah.
have a couple of points, like, that calms you down a little bit. and
Yes.
go, like, you don't have to always know what to talk about.
Yep.
Now you've
And
got
the PowerPoint presentation and the worksheet will both be available to you guys electronically. And what I would encourage too is if you lead a team, take this material back to your teams. Take, an hour and walk them through it as well. You pay it forward, right? Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of my career, I was very shy, very nervous. Everybody laughs at that now. Because I can't imagine me like that. I was just like the little mouse in the corner.
Yeah.
But I think age comes into a lot of that. The more that you do in your career, you gain that, experience. You start to feel more confident that I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And even sometimes I'm shocked because I was dealing with an issue at one of my facilities just last week and trying to de-escalate the situation. And with the employee, and I had the plant manager there and I had the supervisor there participating in this whole thing. And then by the end of it, the employee was in a better mood. He walked out well. And, I didn't think anything of it. And then after, like I said, let the employee go back to work and everything, went back in, they were like, you're good at this. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. It's,
Yeah.
you don't even realize what you're good at sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know because I had a background in HR and now I'm in HSE, but you forget these things. You just think, oh, well, this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, sometimes when I'm talking to people, and I know one conversation I had is like, I don't know what my strengths are or something like that. It's like, sometimes you need someone else to point that out for you.
Yep, exactly. Well, hopefully today was helpful for you guys. I will hopefully see you tonight. Yeah, do some bowling, I guess. So, thank you guys.
Thank you.